In this lecture, we are going to add block props to the root element of our block. Our block is functional, but it's not completely integrated with the editor. Gutenberg may want to modify the block with its own classes and styles. It's optional to let Gutenberg do so, but there are benefits to allowing Gutenberg to modify our block. One benefit is the toolbar. On our experimental page, we have a paragraph block. If I were to select this block, a toolbar would appear above the block. This toolbar allows us to modify the text of our block. We can add links or change the formatting. However, this feature is not available for our block. Upon selecting our block, nothing appears over the block. It would be nice if we could introduce the same formatting settings. Luckily, we can. In our code editor, open the index.js file. At the top of the file, import a function called useBlockProps from the block editor package. This function will apply the properties necessary for the toolbar to appear on our block. Let's give it a try. Inside the edit function, create a variable called blockProps. Its value will be the return value from the useBlockProps function. Next, let's log this variable. We are storing the value returned by the blockProps function for readability. It's unnecessary to store the value, but I find it easier to outsource the value into a variable instead of calling it directly from our JSX. Let's head on over to the browser with the developer tools opened. If we were to select our block, an object gets logged. These properties can be added as props to our elements. By adding them, the Gutenberg editor will have a better understanding of our block. It'll load the toolbar above the block. As you can see from the list of properties, it'll add a class to our elements. We can use these classes for styling our elements. Let's try adding these properties to our element. In the function, remove the log statement. Next, we can begin to add the properties from the blockProps object to our block. WordPress recommends applying these properties to the root element of our block. In our component, the root element is the rich text component. If we had a div tag surrounding this component, the root element would be the div tag. Therefore, we would apply these properties to the div tag. However, since the rich text component is our root element, let's apply these properties to the component. We have two options for adding properties. We can add them one by one. For example, we can add the ID prop by adding an attribute called ID. Its value would be the ID prop. Another prop is called role. So on and so forth. However, adding these properties one by one can be tedious. What if we miss a property? Luckily, JSX supports the spread operator. Let's replace these attributes with the blockProps variable. Before this variable, add the spread operator. By adding this expression, JavaScript will add the properties to the component. The rich text component allows us to add properties that aren't supported. By default, if a prop isn't recognized, the prop is rendered as an attribute on the surrounding element. These properties should be applied to the save component too. Let's head on over to our save function. At the top of the function, define a variable called blockProps. The value will be the useBlockProps.save function. We are using a different function. It's the same reason as before. The front end does not need the same properties as the editor. WordPress will handle deciding what props should be added to the final output. Let's apply this object to the rich text.content component with the spread operator. Time to give our block a test. In the browser, refresh the page. The block doesn't seem any different. However, if we select the block, a toolbar will appear above it. We can use this toolbar to format our content. In addition, there are tools for moving the block or removing it. Isn't this feature useful? We can add support for a toolbar by adding WordPress's properties to the root element of our block. Let's check out the front end. Before viewing the front end, you will need to save the post for the props to appear. On the front end, nothing seems different. However, looks can be deceiving. Let's use the developer tools to inspect the block's markup. As you can see, the h2 tag has various classes applied to it. We can use these classes to apply stylings. The format for a class name is simple. The class will always start with the prefix WP block. This prefix is followed by the name of our block. The name will be modified to separate each word with dashes. In the next lecture, let's use these classes for styling our block.